Okay, so tomorrow you're going to have your test on multiplying and dividing rational numbers. I was going to do all four operations, but I've already tested you on adding and subtracting, so I'm not going to retest you on that. You will need to know it for future topics, so don't let it fall out of your ear, but we're only going to test on multiplying and dividing rational numbers. So I wanted to talk to you about some things that you will need to know for your test. First of all, you will need to know what is a rational number. Rational numbers are any number that can be represented as a fraction. So what can be represented as a fraction? Integers. Remember, integers are whole numbers that are positive or negative. Whole numbers. Positive or negative. Fractions and decimals. So all of these are considered rational numbers. Now remember, rational numbers are any number that can be made into a fraction. And in our definition, it said any number that can be represented as P over Q, where Q is not 0. So, any fraction that has a 0 for a denominator is not a rational number. So, if you see anything like if I have this and it says, is it a rational number? It is not rational. That 0 means that there is nothing there. Remember, a fraction represents part over whole. And if there is no whole, then you can't have a part of something if there's nothing there. So it is not rational if it has 0 as a denominator. So examples of rational numbers could be -5, +5, 0 is an integer. You could do positive 2,698. I mean, any number that you can find on a number line that is negative or positive and is a whole number is a rational number, because whole numbers can be represented as a fraction. So if I have 5 and I want to see it as a fraction, I would do 5 over 1.
Right, Allie Bell.
If I wanted to represent -2 as a fraction, it would be -2 over 1. So I can make any whole number a fraction. So, of course, fractions, negative or positive, -1/2, positive 3/4, any fraction you can come up with, as long as it doesn't have a 0 on bottom, is a rational number. So that does include, if your 0 is on top, it can be a rational number. It's 0. It's only if it's on bottom is it not rational. And decimals, of course, positive and negative, positive 0.25, 1.6398. We can make that negative. Any decimal you can come up with that's positive or negative is a rational number. So we need to remember our rules. Rules for multiplying and dividing rational numbers. Remember, they are not the same as our adding rules. Remember, if your signs are the same, whether they're positive or negative, your answer is positive. And if your signs are different, the answer is negative every time. Okay, so let's give ourselves some examples of that. I'm going to put this up here so we can kind of see our rules. So let's do some examples of that. So if I had -5 times -6, the signs are the same, so my answer will be positive 30. If I have +5 times +6, my signs are the same. My answer is still positive. And if I had -5 times +6, my signs are different, so my answer is -30. So just remember that. Okay, so we also talked about fractions. We know when we multiply fractions, it's the easiest thing we'll do. We go straight across. So when you multiply fractions, you could have like 2/3 times 6/8. And I'm going to write different ways that you may see multiplication. Remember, if you see parentheses, that means multiply whatever's on the outside times whatever's on the inside. Let's make this a -2/3. So if I were going to multiply this, I'm just going to multiply my numerators. 2 times 6 is 12. And 3 times 8 is 24. And it is negative because this would be positive and negative. My signs are different, so my answer is negative. And I know I could divide these both by 12 and get -1/2. And that would be my final answer. So multiplying fractions is the easiest thing you'll do. Just multiply straight across. So if I had -5/6 times 2/3, -2/3, I would have -5 times -2 is +10, and 6 times 3 is 18. And of course, I can simplify that by 2, and I would get 5/9, and it is positive. Don't forget to simplify your answer as far as you can. You will also need to know dividing fractions. And remember, if you have two fractions and you want to divide, you flip the second one and multiply. So if I had -3/4 divided by 5/6, remember, you do nothing to the first number, -3/4. You flip that to the opposite, a multiply, and you flip this number to 6/5. Then you just multiply straight across the top. So you have -18 over 4 times 5 is 20. Of course, I can simplify that by 2, and I would get -9/10 as my final answer. Now let's write it a different way. What if I saw 2 3/4 divided by 6 7/8? Remember, if you see a fraction of a fraction of a fraction, that just means to divide. 2 3/4 divided by 6 7/8. Now I see that I have mixed numbers, so that means I need to go around the world. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 plus 3 is 11. Keep the denominator. And it is positive, so you keep that positive sign. Now I do around the world here. 6 times 8 is 48. 48 plus 7 is 55, I think. Yes, 55. And we keep that denominator. Now I know I've got two fractions and I want to divide, so I'm going to flip the second one and multiply. So I'm going to flip it right here. Now I have 11 times 8 is 88. And 55 times 4, I don't know what that is, so I'm going to say 55 times 4 over here, 220. Now, I see that I can simplify this. I know I can simplify by 2, so I'm going to go with 2 first. So that would be 44 over 110.
Kevin and Michael Curtis is checking out.
I can simplify again by 2. So that would give me 22 over 110 divided by 2 would be 55. And I go back and I check my signs and they're both positive. I know that I've got 22 over 55, so I can simplify by 11, top and bottom, and that would give me positive 2/5 as my final answer. So positive 2/5 is my final answer. So don't forget, when you're dividing fractions, you flip the second one and multiply. Now, what if it says this? 5 divided by 6/9. Well, we know that we can make any whole number a fraction by putting it over 1. So now we have two fractions and we want to divide. We bring that 5 over 1 straight over. We change it to multiply and we flip that 6/9 to 9/6. 5 times 9 is 45. And 6 times 1 is 6. Now I know I can't leave it like this, so I have to do 45 divided by 6. 6 will go into 45 7 times. I subtract and I get 3. 3 is less than 6, so that becomes a fraction, 3/6.
Sarah Beth and Daniel Jackson.
And I can reduce that to 7 1/2. And they are both positive, so my answer is positive 7 1/2. Let's move on to decimals now. We will also need to know how to multiply and divide decimals. So if we have negative 3.6 times negative 4.127. We are going to multiply. Remember, with decimals, you do not have to line it up with multiplication. So we're going to do 4.127 times 3.6. 6 times 7 is 42. Carry your 4. 6 times 2 is 12. 12 plus 4 is 16. Carry your 1. 6 times 1 is 6. 6 plus 1 is 7. And 6 times 4 is 24. Now I'm going to put a 0 here. 3 times 7 is 21. I carry my 2. 3 times 2 is 6. 6 plus 2 is 8. 3 times 1 is 3, and 3 times 4 is 12. Now we're going to add those together. 2 plus 0 is 2. 6 plus 1 is 7. 7 plus 8 is 15. Carry your 1.
Tatiana Dobbins is checking out.
1 plus 4 is 5, and 5 plus 3 is 8. 2 plus 2 is 4, and 1 plus nothing is 1. Now, I cannot forget to go back and see how many decimal places I need to go. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to start on the far right and go 1, 2, 3, 4 places. So my final answer here is 14.8572. Or if we said it the correct way, we would say 14 and 8,572 10,000ths. And they are both negative, so that means my answer will be positive. So don't forget, you don't have to line your decimals up. Don't forget to count how many decimal places you need to move. Dividing decimals. So if we have 1.5, and let's say we're going to divide 30.6 30.67 by 1.5. So this says 30.67 divided by 1.5. The first thing I do is I'm going to move my decimal over one time. That makes this a whole number of 15. And I'm going to move this decimal over just one time because that's what I did to the outside. Go ahead and bring your decimal up. So now I have, how many times will 15 go into 30? Well, it'll go 2 times. 2 times 15 is 30. I subtract and I get 0 and I bring down my 6. 15 won't go into 6, so there's a 0. 0 times 15 is 0. I subtract and I get 67. 15 will go into 67 4 times. 4 times 15 is 60. I subtract and I get 7. But remember, this is a decimal, so I'm not going to put 20.4 and 7/15. I'm going to keep going, so I'm going to add another 0, bring that 0 down. 15 will go into 70 4 times. 4 times 15 is 60. I subtract and I get 10. So I'm going to add another 0, bring it on down. So now I need to know how many times will 15 go into 100. I'm going to say 6 times. 6 times 15 is 90. I subtract and I get 10 again. Add another 0, and that's where it's going to start repeating. So it would be 6 again. So I'm just going to put a repeating mark here. And this is repeating because it would be 6, 6, 6, 6, 6, 6, 6 from now on forever if we kept going. So that means repeating, and I'm just going to write that out, repeating. It just keeps going. Now, if this decimal had just stopped, it would be terminating. So let's move on to converting fractions to decimals and decimals to fractions. So, and that will be the end of your review. Converting fractions to decimals and decimals to fractions. Okay, so if we had a fraction and it was 2/7, we would convert that to a decimal by dividing the top by the bottom. So we're going to write it just like we say it. 2 divided by 7. So I would write that as 2 divided by 7. Now I need to go ahead and put my decimal, and I can put a 0 here. 7 will go into 20 2 times. Well, let's put a 0 here first. 7 won't go into 2. So we'll put a 0, and we're not going to do that 7 times 0 because we don't really need to. 7 will go into 20 2 times. 2 times 7 is 14. We subtract 20 minus 14 is 6. So I'm going to put another 0, and I'm going to bring it down. 7 will go into 60 8 times. 8 times 7 is 56. 60 minus 56 is 4. So I'm going to add another 0 and bring it down. 7 will go into 40 5 times. 5 times 7 is 35. I subtract, and 40 minus 35 is 5. Add another 0. Bring it on down. 7 will go into 50 7 times. So that 7 times 7 is 49. 50 minus 49 is 1. Add another 0. 7 will go into 1 3 times. No, 1 time. I don't know why I said 3. 1 time. 7 times 1 is 7. I know why, because 10 minus 7 is 3. That's what I was thinking. Okay, so we have went several numbers here, and we haven't got a repeating yet. So we're just going to stop there. Now this one, it may become repeating at some point, but so far it's just going to keep going and going and going. So for a number that keeps going and going and going, that is an irrational number. So it may terminate at some point, but we're just going to stop here because we're not just going to keep going. Okay, well, what if we had the fraction 3/4? We're going to write that just like we would say it. 3 divided by 4. I'm going to add my decimal and my 0. Go ahead and bring your decimal to the top. 4 will not go into 3, so I'm just going to go ahead and put a 0 there. 4 will go into 30 7 times. 7 times 4 is 28. 30 minus 28 is 2. I'm going to put a 0 and bring it on down. 4 will go into 20 5 times. 5 times 4 is 20. Now, I'm left with no remainder, so this is terminating. It just stops. It doesn't keep going. Let's try one more. So let's go ahead and mark this one as irrational because it kept going and going and we never had a repeating number. This one is terminating, and let's show one that would be repeating. Let's do 4/6. So I'm going to write that just like I would say it. 4 divided by 6. Go ahead and put your decimal. Bring it on up. 6 will go into 40 6 times. 6 times 6 is 36. 40 minus 36 is 4. Add your 0. Bring it down. 6 will go into 40 6 times. So you're going to keep getting 4 over and over and over. So this is going to be a repeating decimal. Someone is at my door, so let me pause for a minute and I'll come right back. Okay, I'm back. So this one would be repeating because we would just keep getting 6 over and over again. So we're going to stop. We write this line, and that means repeating. Okay, what about turning decimals into fractions? So this one was really easy. So if we had 0.36, the way we would say that would be 36 tenths hundredths. So we would say 36 hundredths. So we would write that as 36 over 100. And we could reduce and we could get a smaller number. And we know that we could reduce at least by 2. What if you had 1.25? We would say this as 1 and 25 hundredths, so that would be 1 and 25 over 100, and we know we could reduce that by 25, and we could get 1 and 1/4. Okay, we could have 0.6254. So we could do our place value, tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10 thousandths. So this would be 6,254 over 10,000. If you can read that decimal, you can write it as a fraction. So that is how you do that. Okay, so I hope this review helped you. You have a Kahoot to review with, and good luck on your test Wednesday. Remember, if you have a test Wednesday, so that means you need to log in Wednesday and take your test. If you do not take your test Wednesday, you will not get full credit. I'm going to take 10 points off for each day that you have not taken your test. So make sure that you are logging in Wednesday and taking your test. Good luck, and I'll see you when I see you.